This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Sudanese renew protests demanding civilian rule. Libya's Khalifa Haftar suffers a major setback and threatens Turkey. And US President Donald Trump and DPRK leader Kim Jong Un resume nuclear talks with sanctions remaining. Hello and a very warm welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. I'm Lindy Mtongana in Nairobi. Also coming up this half hour. Tunisia to host the 2019 Africa Blue Economy Forum. And Uganda looks to secure a direct knockout place as they gear up to face AFCON hosts Egypt in their last Group A match. We start the program in Sudan, where police have been firing tear gas at thousands of protesters in the capital Khartoum on Sunday. This comes amid international calls for restraint to avoid another deadly crackdown. Sudan's opposition had called for a million-strong march, and protesters have been taking to the streets in cities and towns across the country, continuing their demand for civilian rule. This is the first mass demonstration since the violent raid at a Khartoum protester camp on June 3rd. In Libya, strongman Khalifa Haftar has threatened to attack Turkish interests. In response, Turkey says it will retaliate in the most effective and strong way to any threats from Haftar's army. Supporting the government of national accord, Turkey provides weapons against Haftar, who has recently faced a major setback in his offensive to take over Tripoli. Forces loyal to the GNA say they've retaken the town of Garyan and have seized Haftar's main supply base.
Among the captives were mercenaries, in addition to Haftar forces, whose identities were not revealed, and their number exceeded 150. We have seized more than 70 sound heavy machinery, and we have destroyed another 70. In addition to the armored vehicles, we have seized 3 sound drones.
Well, voting is underway in Togo in the country's first local elections in over 30 years. 8,000 law enforcement officers have been deployed nationwide as voters elect more than 1,500 local councillors. The previous councillors have governed Togo for 14 years, from 1987, despite only being given 5-year terms. This local election has been described as a hard-fought step by a spokesperson for one of the main opposition parties, the National Alliance for Change. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, police have dispersed opposition supporters who held a demonstration in the capital Kinshasa in protest over the outcome of last year's presidential election. Dozens from the Lamuka party were beaten for defying the government's ban on the protest. CGTN's Crystal Chumbringa has more from Kinshasa.
Scores of opposition supporters took to the streets of Kinshasa to protest against the outcome of last year's polls and the cancellation of the election of their MPs. The protesters marched in the capital in defiance of a ban issued by the governor last week. But there was a heavy police presence to break up the protest that was meant to be peaceful. Chaos broke out as the police descended on protesters. The countrywide protest was organized by members of the Lamuka party.
Everywhere in Congo, the police was brutal. And this is what we said to you, that Mr. Felix Tshisekedi is just a puppet, because Kabila has shown that he will continue with his character. Every time you have a demonstration, every time you have protest, Kabila has to send his people, his soldier, his military, and those guys, they are putting the police jacket, but there are many of them, they are not policemen.
President Tshisekedi had said he respects the rights of citizens to demonstrate, but accuses the opposition of confusing democracy with anarchy. The opposition has been calling for President Tshisekedi to step down after he was declared the winner of the election last year. They maintain that Martin Fayulu was the real winner of the vote. The disputed poll was endorsed by the Constitutional Court, which declared Felix Tshisekedi the winner. Key opposition figures like former Vice President Jean-Pierre Bemba and Martin Fayulu have vowed to continue pushing for reforms in the country. The protest was held as the country marks its 59th independence anniversary. Chris Ochamringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
South Africa relies heavily on coal for energy, and this means it's a country which in some parts is choking with air pollution. This also translates into millions of dollars in health costs. Mpumalanga, a province in the east of the country, is home to a dozen coal-fired stations operated by the national power supply Eskom. It's ranked as one of the deadliest spots for air pollution. CGTN's Yolisa Njamela has more.
Like most countries, South Africa is working towards moving to cleaner technologies, a move that may take a while to achieve. In the meantime, one of South Africa's provinces, Mpumalanga, is grappling with air pollution. Environmental group Greenpeace recently released a report that shows that the Mpumalanga province is the world's largest air pollution hotspot. The province is also where almost all of South Africa's coal is mined. And the resulting pollution is adversely affecting residents here. We spoke to a number of families here in this area, and they related a number of stories of feeling helpless as they watch their children and other family members suffering on a daily basis. They refer to the pollution as a silent but prolific killer. Promise Mabilo felt compelled to become an activist after realizing that her son was heavily affected by pollution. She describes watching her son in pain, suffering from bronchitis, as the worst thing she's ever experienced.
When these people are attacked by this, they are unable to breathe, you will cry. You will be unable even to hold him because they hold up tight without breathing, without doing anything. You don't know what to do.
Her organization has recently launched a case to demand that the government clean up the air in the polluted areas.
What we really need is that the government should enforce compliance. But we know that they will take time to do that. They have to do something. The government have to do something.
Mabilo is just one of many residents in this area who are in anguish. Mbali Matebula tells us that she no longer knows what to do. She simply can't cope anymore.
The problem is asthma. Both my children have asthma. Princess's asthma started when she turned 2. Now she's 5 years old. For Asimahle, it started at 3 months. Now she's 8 months. It affects me directly because it attacks them literally every night. And I have no means to take them to hospital.
I have TB. I can't even hold a job because of the severity of my condition. Meanwhile, I have to take care of a few small children.
When my children were born, they were completely fine. After 6 months, this one was admitted. They said he has asthma. Even my second born, after a year, she was admitted. Same symptoms. Also had asthma.
The Department of Environmental Affairs in 2007 acknowledged that this area is an air pollution hotspot. And since then, it has declared the area a priority zone.
So the work that we are doing in the priority areas is the Minister has established air quality management plans, which are the plans that we are implementing now to try and reduce the levels of pollution to acceptable levels.
So for now, these residents will continue to agonize over where they can possibly get urgent assistance. Yolisa Njamela for CGTN in Mpumalanga Province, South Africa.
In international news, Donald Trump has become the first sitting U.S. president to set foot in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. On Sunday, when he met the nation's leader, Kim Jong Un, in the demilitarized zone, they agreed to resume stalled nuclear talks. CGTN's Rory Cohen has more.
We just had a very, very good meeting with Chairman Kim.
That's how the US president described his brief dialogue with the DPRK leader this afternoon. shaking hands in the special truce area that has divided the peninsula since the Korean War ended in 1953, Kim expressed his surprise at the location of the meeting.
It is good to see you again. I've never expected to meet you at this place.
During a rare statement to the press, Kim said the meeting only came about because of their close bond.
If it wasn't for our excellent relationship, this opportunity would not have been possible. So I would like to use this strong relationship to create more good news, which no one would have expected in the past, and also to propel us in a good direction in the future.
And the good news to come out of this meeting was that the leaders agreed to resume stalled nuclear talks.
And what's going to happen is over the next 2 or 3 weeks, the teams are going to start working to see whether or not they can do something. Very big stuff, pretty complicated, but not as complicated as people think.
However, sanctions on the DPRK will remain for the foreseeable future.
They're staying on. I mean, at some point, look, I'm looking forward to taking them off. I don't like sanctions being on this country. I'm looking forward, but the sanctions remain, yes.
Meanwhile, South Korean President Moon Jae-in, who accompanied Trump to the DMZ, spoke highly of the agreement.
Through today's meeting, in the peace process, and to establish the complete denuclearization and permanent peace on the peninsula, I believe that we have been able to get over a hurdle.
So, a historic day at the DMZ. And while no tangible progress was made, there is once again hope that a positive solution for all sides isn't far off. Rory Cohn, CGTN.
An estimated 20 million South Africans live with chronic illnesses. These range from diabetes and high blood pressure to tuberculosis and HIV/AIDS. South Africa has been introducing a digital solution for chronically ill patients to collect their medication quickly, easily and without stigmatization. Let's find out more now from CGTN's Daniela Pearson.
In South Africa, an estimated 20 million people manage a chronic illness. Here, 1 in 5 are also living with HIV/AIDS. All these patients need monthly refills of their medication. But at government clinics, there just aren't enough pharmacists to go around. Lines can be so long that people are often forced to take the entire day off work.
If you look at the public clinics that we have in this country, they are very congested. If you're a patient there, a chronic stable patient, you will spend a good 5 to 6 hours just to get your chronic medication.
The digitization of the health sector is helping to fill the shortfall. Alexandra Township in Johannesburg has been piloting a pharmacy dispensing unit, or a PDU. At one of these machines, chronic patients deemed clinically stable can retrieve their medication with ease. It only takes a few minutes, and patients can also video chat live with a pharmacist for advice on dosage and side effects.
It's very easy, because no queue here, and it's very fast, and you get a help immediately.
Not only do the PDUs drastically reduce waiting time, they also encourage people to stick to their treatment plan. The system decreases the chances of being infected with other diseases in overcrowded hospital waiting rooms. It also helps patients avoid the stigmatization of being HIV positive.
Right now, we're seeing around a little bit over 4,000 patients a month. When we started, we're seeing maybe in the first couple of months, it was maybe 200-300 patients a month. So the numbers have really increased, because you can see from 300-400 patients a month to 4,000 patients a month within a space of a couple of years. That is very good, and the numbers are still increasing.
These digital pharmacies are gaining popularity since South Africa's first PDU was piloted in 2017. Patients can now collect their medication from multiple units dotted across Johannesburg's densely populated townships. Daniela Pearson, CGTN.
And time now for a short break. Here's what's still ahead on the program. Tunisia is set to host the 2019 Africa Blue Economy Forum. And Kenyan rangers turn to tech in a bid to crack down on poachers.
Africa Live. Find your voice.
Tunisia is set to host the 2019 Africa Blue Economy Forum. The country was chosen due to its location and history. Tunisia is an important center for maritime trade as well as an economic powerhouse between Europe and Africa. According to the World Bank, the blue economy is the sustainable use of ocean resources for economic growth, improved livelihoods and jobs while preserving the health of ocean ecosystems.
Over 200 participants took part in the second edition of the Africa Blue Economy Forum in Tunis on the theme Investing in Sustainable Growth. The Minister of Agriculture, Water Resources and Fisheries recalled that 65% of urban agglomerations are located on the Tunisian coast and over 90% of the hotel capacity is seaside.
The Tunisian state is offering many incentives for activities related to the sea. Tunisia cannot give priority to the sea because it represents 2/3 of our borders. We have a coast of 1,300 kilometers. The economy of the sea and blue economy are strategic sectors.
Professionals stressed the importance of guiding the economic development model towards the sea economy, fostering innovation in the field, encouraging projects supported by young competences, and giving sufficient flexibility for local authorities to reconcile economic and environmental issues.
Blue economy is now a new notion. The main issue related to the blue economy for African and Mediterranean countries would be to maximize the economic benefits of such an activity while taking into consideration the environmental challenges related to it.
Participants pointed out the economic and social weight of marine activities and its role in improving the living conditions of Tunisian and African women and youth. These include fishing, which directly or indirectly supports nearly 100,000 Tunisians.
The blue economy gives women, men and children the opportunity to harness the huge economic benefits that are derivable from our oceans and seas. So it is of importance that the blue economy policy is appreciated by every African country and its governments to ensuring robust economic growth in every nation.
Experts noted that Tunisia's strong urban, tourist and industrial concentration on the coast, the over-exploitation of maritime resources and climate change have greatly contributed to the degradation and erosion of the coastline, thus threatening ecosystems, which requires more than ever a sustainable approach to exploit this space. According to the Minister of Trade, 98% of imports and exports depend on shipping. In addition, an essential part of the tourism activity is on the coastal fringe, which hosts 90% of the country's hotel capacity. Experts assert that the energy sector is also seeking coastal and offshore waters. Adin Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
Well, here in Kenya, a private wildlife conservancy in the country's Laikipia Plateau has turned to tech in a bid to crack down on poachers. CGTN's Michael Karanja has more.
Every new day provides an opportunity for rangers at Ol Pejeta Conservancy to protect wildlife. The conservancy shelters, among others, endangered giants, the only two northern white rhinos left on Earth. High on a mast nearby, a new camera relays real-time images to armed guards at park headquarters. It is among the latest technological weaponry deployed to combat poaching at the sanctuary.
We are very much in our infancy when it comes to this kind of stuff. It is pretty sort of cutting edge from a conservation perspective, albeit other people have done it in other parts of Africa, often at great expense. So I think the trick will be is finding solutions that can then be replicated cost effectively at scale.
The Conservancy is currently testing the new generation of animal tracking chips that could one day monitor everything from ranger health to river levels.
So we want to be able to make sure that we protect our wildlife. We want to see the numbers increasing for, biodiversity, making sure that it is very diverse and having all these species all under one roof.
If I had a bugbear about the world of conservation, is it tends to be fairly slow on the uptake when it comes to new technologies and embracing new ways of doing things. And that needs to change.
The last successful poaching at Ol Pejeta was in October 2017, when a northern black rhino was slaughtered. With the new advancements, real-time alerts are sent if disturbances are detected.
If a poacher comes in through the corridors today or even now, this camera will actually capture them, and it will tell us that this is actually a person. It will tell me how many, or it will tell us how many people there are, what is it that they're carrying. We can actually be in a position to tell and see in the image, and we can actually send our teams, our security teams, to go and actually arrest them before they even do any poaching.
Tech advocates say advances in data collection and smart applications on game reserves could prove revolutionary, upending decades-old approaches to conservation across the world. Michael Karanja, CGTN.
Well, time now for a short break. Your sports news up next. Coming up, Uganda looks to secure a direct knockout place as they gear up to face AFCON hosts Egypt in their last Group A match.
Africa, where champions are made, records are broken, legends are born. We're there for every goal, for every knockout, for every step of the way. Match Point, only on CGTN.